I think it's fair to say that the majority of you know who these guys are, and what I'm about to talk about know that they need no introduction. But for those that don't know who these guys are, you need to educate yourself at this very moment before you watch the video. In all seriousness though, Wallace and Gromit are perhaps one of the best British icons out there. From Wallace's mad ideas and mechanical tinkering to Gromit's no-nonsense attitude and downright awesomeness of getting things done without speaking a single word.
Shankly, Polka Waring, Stanley Matthews, bye.
Jesus, I love that dog. Not bad for a studio that only uses clay animation for this series, something that I wish more movies would actually use nowadays. And it's good to see that they're still going strong to this very day. And what probably a lot of people don't know is that there are only a few video games out there starring this wonderful double act, and we're going to be looking at all 3 of them today. That's right, there's only 3 video games made off this beloved series, which is kind of weird to see that there's so much merchandise from this, but only 3 video games? Interesting and probably foreboding. I don't care, let's get this video started. Also, I'd like to point out before I begin this little video that I'm only going to go into some detail on all 3 games, as I wish not to spoil too much for everybody else. First up is the one that everybody has probably played and seen, the movie tie-in game Curse of the Were-Rabbit, and I'll be honest, so far I'm a little sad that they didn't go down the same road as the Neverhood Skull Monkeys or Armory Crook, as none of the cutscenes are clay animation. A bit of a downer, as the animation used in the cutscenes almost remind me of an early PS1 FMV cutscene, but thankfully Wallace and Lady Totterton are voiced by the original actors Peter Sellis and Helen Bonham Carter respectively. Or at least, I hope it's them, as it sounds just like them.
Victor, that's quite enough about shooting. You know my views on that.
You, Lady Tottington, are just the sort of client whose cauliflowers and carrots Auntie Pesto is dedicated to defending.
Sadly, I don't think Ralph Fiennes was available to reprise his role as Victor, but the actor they got does a decent enough job. But I'd be lying if I didn't say that I do miss Ralph's voice more.
Auntie Pesto? Yes, I've heard of you. Humane pest control. Namby-pamby nonsense. Only one way to deal with pests, and that's shoot 'em. Shoot 'em where it hurts.
What we're dealing with here is no supernatural rabbit. It's a big fellow, perhaps, but a mortal creature of flesh and blood, a matter easily dealt with by a hunter.
As for the gameplay, it's a platform collectathon, and sadly nothing original or interesting, as you go around different locations doing little side missions here and there, that in my opinion take way too long to complete, as well as collecting the rabbits, as well as some playing cards. Backgrounds and character designs are from the original movie and pure aardman, which is a plus, but not by much. I'd also like to say that while the story is the same, it's slightly abridged in some parts, and you get to see how slightly deviated it gets from the beginning of the game, as you get called to the Tottington Hall straight away, and on the way you meet this horrible creature who tells us our future.
And by the light of the moon, I see one particularly large and ravenous rabbit. Oh, and one more thing. Beware crossing the path of a tall, dark stranger.
I've seen some really scary cutscenes in my time, but that is perhaps one of the most horrifying things I've ever witnessed. Also, I'd like to take back that comment I made about the story being slightly abridged, as, well, just watch.
First were-chicken.
A were-chicken. A were-chicken. Where do I even begin with this? I mean, I shouldn't be as surprised as I am, given what Wallace and Gromit have done and fought over the many years, but Just look at this! You also fight off were-weasels and were-rats. What the fuck? I mean, don't get me wrong, the rest of the game after that moment is quite pleasant, but it does become a backlog of side missions and other things that really hammer it down. And it becomes an almost pointless game to play to get towards the end, which does follow the movie's end to a certain degree, but not worth it to get 100% completion if you ask me. But I've had enough talking about that game, let's move on to the next one, which is one of my favourites. Wallace and Gromit Project Zoo. For the PS2. This joke is terrible. This game was difficult to find. On the PlayStation mainly, as the GameCube version is everywhere and the Xbox version is almost non-existent. I mean, I could have looked on eBay as there are quite a few of them on sale, but nah, I take the difficult road any day. Just thought I'd share that little bit of sad trivia about myself. Getting back to the game, the story follows both Wallace and Gromit going to the zoo to celebrate the birthday of a polar bear they adopted, only to find that Feathers McGraw has not only kidnapped the bear, but taken over the zoo he was once imprisoned. In order to get in, they created a Trojan penguin! Oh my god. I couldn't make that up even if I tried. Once inside, they find out the animals are being forced to work while their children are caged up. So it's up to the duo to once again stop the plans of the evil penguin, and this time wearing the right trousers. In this game, you go around collecting nuts to upgrade your weapons and other collectibles like coins. I can't remember what they do or even if they have any significance towards the story or the completion of the game, but oh well. I've got to say that this game is pretty fun to play and a lot less struggle to get through the missions compared to its predecessor. I will say that the only problem you'll have with this game is sometimes the camera likes to jerk around a little bit and be in places you don't want it to be, especially tackling the more trickier and higher up platforms. Apart from that, this game is sadly average. There are bonus missions in this game, but only to collect more coins, which are now becoming a bit pointless to do if you ask me. The enemies you get to fight are robotic penguins, but nothing else, and sadly nothing exciting. There's really nothing new or original to make this game stand out more, but the weapons you get are pretty cool as Wallace just builds them after breaking stuff around him.
Parents can't rescue him, but by heck, we will. Oh dear.
The only other thing I can bring about this game is that the character designs and backgrounds are really spot on to the aardman style. For the boss battles, I will say they did drop the ball a little bit, but they can be fun and engaging. It's a real shame that there's not much more I can really talk about this game or its predecessor, as one is a really fun collectathon platformer. As for the other, it's just, well, a little meh if I'm being brutally honest. Now you might think this is the part of the video where I end it all, but you'd be wrong, because there's more to talk about! That's right. In 2009, Aardman Animations teamed up with Telltale Games to create 4 episodes of them as a point-and-click adventure game. Now, sadly, in 2014 the games are no longer available to download as distribution rights expired, but you can still find physical copies of the games on 2 discs. And they ain't all that expensive to find too, which is all good for the fans out there, I guess. And I've got to say, they are really good. Now, unlike Telltale games that follow a linear storyline throughout the episodic games, these games aren't connected at all, but are completely separate storylines. The only connections you have are the characters you meet and interact with in the game. Plus, you can really tell that this is during the company's experimental stages, as everything is pretty straightforward and not too complicated and easy to pick up and play. Now, the stories in each episode are pretty, well, meh at best. They make up for it by making sure that the characters of Wallace and Gromit stay very much themselves, and the characters they added have their own quirkiness and charm to complete the wackiness of the series that we all know and love. I mean, take the first episode for instance. Wallace and Gromit start a honey business, and in order to get their pet bees to produce more honey, Wallace grows giant flowers, and that in turn makes the bees that they eat the flowers giant sized. And just take a look at their queen. If that isn't nightmare fuel, I don't know what is. The only issue I have with these games is that they didn't get Peter Sellers to reprise his role, but instead they got Ben Whitehead to take over, and according to the Wikipedia page on these games is that Ben is Aardman's official backup voice actor for Wallace. Guess that shows with the performance he gave in these games, as he does a really good impersonation, but sadly doesn't have Peter's charm when exaggerating his brilliant ideas.
Just a minute. Such a lovely beach. It's a shame to keep it to ourselves when we could share it with paying customers.
Still, it isn't too bad of a game and does the job really well before Telltale took the Walking Dead route, but I'd be lying if I didn't notice how lacking the game is in a lot of places, with no different routes coming from the decision your character makes. A staple addition to the Telltale game series, but it's not missed much. But still, to make a game charming, fun and engaging to play while missing the main voice actor, then you know this game is well worth your time. So if you want to get your hands on a copy of these lovely games, you can find the PS2 ones in any secondhand store. As for the Telltale ones, your best chance is on eBay, and get them at a reasonable price too. Hey, look at that, I'm ending another video as an advertisement, but oh well, what are you gonna do? End it on another cliffhanger? I don't think... What? Oh, bollocks.